No CP+Farming+Transgender+Crossing+Golden Finger+Family longevity Shortcomings+Getting rich. No political stratagems such as court prince. Chen Changsheng, the teacher at the culinary school, never expected that traveling through time would fall on him. A pure man who has been single for 28 years, without holding a woman's small hand, starts off as a woman and is still a widow with 4 children. My family is poor, my eldest son is limping, and my mother is not yet a fuel-efficient lamp. Fortunately, God gave her a golden finger. However, this golden finger is quite special and must be burned by burning her calories. Take it as it comes, earn money, get rich, and raise children step by step. The family background of farming is short, and there are not many chickens and dogs jumping around. Chapter 1. Becoming a Woman at the Beginning. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chen Changsheng looked at the spider web above his head with a heart full of despair. He is definitely the most unlucky traveler in history. He is definitely the most bizarre traveler in history. Chen Changsheng is a teacher at Modern New Oriental Culinary School. 10 minutes ago, he showed the students how to cook a twice-cooked pork in the classroom. Start the pot, pour oil, add ingredients, add meat, and then have a beautiful pot. A circle of flames stirred up around the big iron pot. Twice-cooked pork is Chen Changsheng's masterpiece. When it is stir-fried, I suddenly catch a glimpse of a student pouring flour. Chen Changsheng was about to shout for a stop, but it was already too late. With a loud bang, Chen Changsheng's eyes darkened and he instantly lost consciousness. When he woke up again, he found a piece of rag draped over his face. This rag probably hadn't been washed for too long, with a sour smell that matched his foot cloth. That's sour and refreshing, I can't imagine. Chen Changsheng moved his stiff body and found himself wrapped in a straw mat, with someone beside him crying like a dead mother. Chen Changsheng pouted and desperately tried to blow away the rags, and his body twisted violently. He whimpered, "Which bastard is it? Let go of me, let me go. I'm not dead yet." A little girl outside the straw mat was startled and covered her mouth in fear. Big brother, second brother, third brother. Come on. Mom. Mom is pretending to be a corpse. Accompanied by a scream, the little girl crawled out of the room in a panic. Only Chen Changsheng remained, struggling hard in the straw mat. Fortunately, the rag was just lightly draped over Chen Changsheng's face. He took a deep breath and felt his lungs about to explode. With a strong blow, the rag finally slipped to the side. Chen Changsheng breathed heavily and cursed, "I'm suffocating." Then, he moved slightly left and right, and the straw mat was not tightly wrapped. Chen Changsheng twisted and quickly moved it to the mouth of the mat. The mat has finally come loose. With a splash, Chen Changsheng rolled to the ground. He lay down in pain. Looking at the unfamiliar environment around him, Chen Changsheng muttered to himself in confusion, "Where is this?" Just as I finished speaking, a voice that didn't belong to me came out of my throat. Another, lying trough, sentence. "Oh, my mom. Is this his voice? What is a woman's voice? Did he mutate in the explosion? Or was he abducted to Thailand for gender reassignment surgery?" Just as Chen Changsheng was shocked, 3 men and 1 woman rushed in outside the door, and Chi fell beside him. "Mom, you're awake." Chen Dafu had a runny nose and a bag of tears. Upon hearing the young man call himself "mother," Chen Changsheng let out a scream of fear, rolled his eyes wide, and fainted. Wait for him to wake up again. Chen Changsheng later realized that he should have traveled through time. Looking up, there is a dilapidated thatched cottage. He acknowledged it. Isn't it just about traveling through ancient rural areas? Don't be afraid, let's work hard and start our own businesses slowly, and we can always get rich and strive for a moderately prosperous society. Lowering their heads and kneeling down are 4 unfamiliar and great children. He also recognized it. Isn't it just that I enjoy being a father? I'm not afraid, so I just picked up a few cheap children for free, and the population is prosperous. But, why did God let him cross over to a woman? What's this called? He is a pure man, standing 1.8 meters tall, with a perfect physique of one abdominal muscle. Cough, I'm actually only 20.8 years old. As an elderly single young man, Chen Changsheng has never held a woman's small hand or kissed her small mouth before. God has directly landed him to experience being a woman. When others travel through time, they either become emperors or nobles, and even worse, they are still nobles and eldest sons. However, when it's their turn, they start playing cards without following common sense. Chen Changsheng really wanted to loudly question whether the heavens were joking with him. He silently recited countless, lying trough, in his heart to greet Grandpa, hoping that Grandpa could hear his call, take him back, and redistribute him again. However, it seems that my grandfather chose to temporarily lose his hearing for his grandson. Chen Changsheng let out a long sigh and helplessly closed his eyes. Second, it seems like my mother is dead again. I just heard her take a deep breath and then she closed her eyes. Chen Dafu, the eldest son who was kneeling, was frightened by his mother who had fainted back and forth. He stuttered and couldn't speak fluently, and uncertain, he nudged his second brother Chen Erlu on the side. Mom, wake up, I'm the second one. Open your eyes and look at me, don't leave me behind. Chen Erlu shook Chen Changsheng's body desperately, and Chen Changsheng felt like he was about to be shaken apart. He wants to jump up and hit someone. He had not yet recovered from the sudden situation of becoming a woman, and the good son in front of him dared to mention the word second. This isn't this sprinkled salt on his wound. A few sorrowful tears slipped from the corner of Chen Changsheng's eyes. Lying trough. What's going on? Why is this body still crying? That's too feminine, isn't it? Will it become emotional unconsciously when one becomes a woman? Thinking of this, Chen Changsheng's goosebumps started to rise and he unconsciously shuddered. A group of onlookers gathered around the Chen family yard. Chen's sister-in-law, Zhao, is also pitiful. A man who eats, drinks, and gambles outside owes a lot of debt. He doesn't stay at home every day, but he suffers from Chen's sister-in-law pulling 4 children alone. I heard that people from the gambling house in the town chased after Chen's sister-in-law man to repay the money, but his man ran away and stumbled and died. Chen's sister-in-law's family forced her to remarry, and they had already found a man, who was Li Laohan from our neighboring Li family village. Hey, I know about Li Laohan. He's almost 40 years old and hasn't married his wife yet. He's said to have leg problems and looks ugly. No good family is willing to marry his daughter. Yeah, Mrs. Chen didn't want to, and in a fit of anger, she took a shortcut. Chen Changsheng perked his ears and listened as the people outside the door were happily eating the original owner's melons. It turns out that not only did she cross into a woman, but she also wore it onto a widow. Fortunately, she is a widow and no longer has to deal with the original owner man. But I also heard that Li Laohan has money in his family. The old man and his mother have both left, and he is the only son. There are several houses in the house, which are still made of blue bricks. There are also several acres of paddy fields and several dry lands, and the amount of money in the house is the same. Aunt Joe, who was speaking, reached out 10 fingers and secretly compared. So many. Then marrying someone else would be a way to enjoy happiness. If you marry someone else, you can become the head of the household and have both money and land. Aunt Zhang, who gave birth to 2 children, envied her. You mother-in-law, even after getting married and having children, still cares about them. I'm not afraid that your men will listen to you and beat you up, Aunt Zhou joked. The more you eat this melon, the more it deviates from the recipe. What? Mom asked her daughter to remarry. Let him remarry as a big man. And still marry a man. That is impossible, impossible. Chapter 2. Even the female protagonists in Qiong Yao's novels are not so miserable. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As a pure man, even if Chen Changsheng is killed, it is absolutely impossible to marry a man. In fact, Mrs. Chen's remarriage is not bad either. Although she has given birth to 4 children, she still looks handsome and has a figure that can be raised. After remarriage, there is a man who is considerate and takes care of her. Wang Matzi, the deceased mother-in-law in the village, interjected with a smile. Aunt Zhang joked, as the saying goes, a widow grinds tofu at 3 o'clock in the morning and a bachelor washes clothes in the middle of the night. Otherwise, we might as well ask Mrs. Chen to come with Wang Matzi and make a pair of you. The more he listened, the more he felt uncomfortable. Chen Changsheng couldn't bear it anymore and opened his eyes in a secluded manner. Mom, are you awake? Is there anything uncomfortable with your body? Chen Dafu, the eldest son, was full of concern in his eyes. Chen Changsheng looked at his eldest son, who was only 1 year younger than him, and his heart was filled with mixed feelings. He said that his eldest son was more like his younger brother. Help me up first. I've been lying for a long time and I feel a bit dizzy. Chen Dafu followed his words and limped forward, taking a step to help his mother lean against his arms. Cough cough, that second person, go make everyone in the courtyard disperse, go back to their respective homes and look for their mothers. What are you doing here? It hurts to be idle. Chen Erlu obediently stood up and went to the courtyard, apologizing to the neighbors, aunties and uncles. My mother has already woken up. Please come back. A group of people eating melons in the courtyard could only reluctantly leave the courtyard, intending to tell their own men about the new melons they had heard. After everyone left, Chen Changsheng regained his senses and began to look at the room. The yellow mud walls, black mud strips, spider webs hanging on the beams, and a leaking thatched roof. This family situation, given the current situation, is considered a safe impoverished household. When thieves come, they have to throw down 2 bags of rice, and when mice come, they probably have to shake their heads. The road to wealth is heavy and long. Chen Changsheng licked his cracked lips and was about to raise his hand to rub his swollen and painful temples when a memory that didn't belong to him suddenly burst into his mind. The original protagonist he traveled through was Zhao Daya, 30 years old, with a man named Chen Changsheng and 4 children. Chen Changsheng, isn't that his modern name? Why so coincidental? Alright, don't interrupt, let's keep recalling. Chen Family Village is backed by a big mountain, and there are 50 or 60 households living in the village. Last year, the weather was not good, and there was no rain for several months. Only 50% of the rice in the fields was collected, and after paying taxes, every household had little surplus food left. Every household in Qinjia village lives a very poor life, relying solely on the mountain to enjoy delicious food and make a living. The man of the original owner Zhao Daya was a lazy owner who ate, drank, and gambled outside every day. He angered his mother, Mrs. Chen, and separated this son from his family. Mrs. Chen, along with her second and third bedrooms, lived in an old house on the east end of the village. The original owner's family of a few lived in the west end of the village, and all the houses on the west end of the village have their origins. Coincidentally, there was a family in the west of the village who had died of tuberculosis. The house was empty, and the villagers felt unlucky. It was only then that Zhao Daya and her family of 6 were able to move in. The original owner, Zhao Daya, owed a lot of debt and was chased to death by debt collectors. The mother of the original owner was not a good person. She wanted to force her daughter to remarry and earn a few taels of dowry money to support her family. The original owner was determined not to comply, and in a fit of anger, she set up a rope in her own home to find a way out. Several sons went out to work in the morning and only found their own mother hanging on the beam for half a day when they returned home at noon. Chen Changsheng estimated that it was only after the original owner left that he was able to cross over to her. "I'll go, this is too miserable." The tragic female protagonists in Qiong Yao's novels are not so tragic. Just as Chen Changsheng was shedding bitter tears over his tragic fate, a voice came. "Mom, do you want to drink water?" Chen Sanzho, the third son, noticed that his mother's lips were dry and cracked. He carefully brought a bowl of water over, fearing that his own mother might not be able to think about it and secretly search for a place to die. Chen Changsheng looked up and saw the 4 children in front of him. The taller one is his eldest son, Chen Dafu, who is 16 years old. The taller one is his second son, Chen Erlu, who is 14 years old. The smaller one is his third son, Chen Sanzho, who is 10 years old. There is also the youngest girl, Chen Cixi, who is 8 years old. The 4 children were all bony, with no flesh on their bodies, and their clothes were in tattered condition, covered in pudding and thread. They were also wearing tattered grass shoes on their feet. The eldest son seems to have some problems with his legs and feet, walking with a limp and imbalance. "Mom! Are you still human?" Fourth Miss Chen Cixi hid behind second brother, revealing half of her head and trembling as she asked in a voice. The 3 brothers went to find an old carpenter in the village to make a coffin, leaving Chen Cixi alone at home. She almost lost her soul when she saw Chen Changsheng writhing and sobbing, wrapped in a mat. She immediately ran out to find her eldest brother, second brother, and third brother. Obviously, her older brother probed his mother's breathing. Aunt Ma next door also said she could prepare for her mother's affairs. "Who knew that my mother was moving again? Are you saying I'm human?" Chen Changsheng looked at the timid 4th girl and asked back with a smile and anger. "Cixi, don't be afraid, even if your mother is a ghost, she is still a ghost." Chen Sanzho scared the younger sister. "What the hell? What kind of ghost is a mother ghost?" Chen Changsheng rolled his eyes and pretended to catch his third son. "If I were a ghost, the first one would take you away. Mother is not a ghost. Look behind her, there is a shadow. Mother must be a human." Chen Erlu pointed to the noon sunlight shining through the roof, shining on her mother. Chen Cixi looked behind Chen Changsheng and indeed saw a black shadow. That's great. I knew my mother wasn't a ghost, ghosts were afraid of the sun." Chen Cixi clapped his hands happily, jumping and cheering. "Mother is so kind to us, even if she turns into a ghost, she won't harm us." Chen Dafu, who remained silent, suddenly spoke. "Mother, the ground is cold. I'll carry you to the bed." Chen Erlu rolled up his sleeves and squatted down to pick up his mother. Chen Changsheng clearly felt that his second son was thin, with arms that were about to break when he exerted force. He could easily knock his son off with just one punch, so he dared not let his son hold her. Chen Changsheng rolled up from the ground and sat down on the bed. "Mom, you must be hungry. I'll go and serve you a meal now," Chen Sanzho said as he ran towards the kitchen. In the morning, Chen Dafu was responsible for weeding in the field, while Chen Erlu took Sanzho and Cixi to the mountain to dig wild vegetables. This is a daily example. After cooking for his mother, she can quickly recover. "Mom, you don't know how many tears I shed." Chen Cixi's eyes were swollen, and the little one leaned against Chen Changsheng. If the 4 children were concerned, Chen Changsheng, who had grown up in an orphanage since childhood, would experience the warmth of family affection for the first time and feel a different feeling in his heart. They are all sensible and good children. Buddha said, looking back 500 times in the past life is worth passing by once in this life. 500 times passing by in the past life, in exchange for a meeting in the present life. 500 encounters in the past life bring about one acquaintance in the present life. Based on this calculation, Chen Changsheng had to look back 125 million times. He must have twisted his neck to meet such a group of children. Anyway, there were no relatives to be attached to in the previous life. Since God arranged for him to travel here, why not forget the past and start over, and take good care of this family? From then on, there will be no more Chen Changsheng, only Zhao Dia, and only the mother of 4 children. Chapter 3. Scream of Despair from Host. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chen Changsheng frowned and looked at a bowl of things in front of him that couldn't be seen in its original form. It was black, green, and black. Against the backdrop of the broken and black earthen bowl, it looked so much like Brother Pig's lunch. She doesn't dare to speak up. Mom, hurry up and eat, it's delicious. Chen Sanzhou looked at Chen Changsheng with great love. In the past few days, he has learned cooking from his older brother and his cooking skills have improved a lot. I'm sure his mother will praise him for his exceptional skills. Chen Xixi also looked at the bowl of wild vegetables and couldn't help but drip saliva. Mom, hurry up and eat, Chen Dafu and Chen Erlu advised while swallowing their saliva. 4 pairs of eyes eagerly looked at Chen Changsheng. Chen Changsheng's affection was hard to resist. Forget it, let's just consider it as drinking traditional Chinese medicine. Her heart sank and she frowned, holding her breath and took a sip. It's not an ordinary unpleasant taste, with a sour and astringent taste. The wild vegetables are not completely chopped, and it's a bit irritating. Chen Changsheng only feels that there are still 2 wild vegetables stuck in his throat, neither up nor down. She tried hard to swallow a mouthful, forcefully swallowing the 2 wild vegetables as a whole, and then put down the bowl. A bowl of wild vegetables was placed in the new Oriental Culinary Academy before Chen Changsheng, and the big dog guarding the door couldn't even look at it, let alone eat it. However, it made several children salivate here. Mom is not hungry now. Have you all eaten? Chen Changsheng asked casually. We've all eaten, we're not hungry, Chen Erlu said and didn't turn his head, but the gurgling sound coming from his stomach betrayed him. Second brother, your stomach is ringing, Chen Xixi reminded thoughtlessly. Nonsense, you heard me wrong. Chen Erlu's voice rose in a sly tone. Chen Changsheng heard the children growling with hunger and ordered, Dafu, go to the stove and serve some for your younger brothers and sisters. Look at how hungry everyone is. You still need to eat what you should eat for lunch. Only when you're full can you have the energy to work. Chen Dafu did not move his steps. He knew that the 3rd person had cooked all the wild vegetables, and the pot on the stove was even cleaner than his face. But Chen Changsheng did not know that people in Qinjia village basically only eat 2 meals per household, 1 early and 1 late. Some families eat millet porridge, and some eat brown rice, and they will put some wild vegetables into a paste. The original owner's family was one of the top poor in the village due to the man's laziness and excessive gambling, so the meals in the morning and evening were pure wild vegetables. Chen Changsheng looked at his eldest son who had just been obedient and remained motionless, feeling puzzled. He got up and went out of bed. The Chen family is not big, consisting of 3 rooms. In the middle is the main hall, with a black wooden table and 3 benches. It is a place for the family to eat and entertain guests, similar to today's integrated dining in dining room. One leg of the wooden table is still a bit short, and her family is too poor to have many visitors, so she didn't go to repair that leg. On both sides of the main room are 2 main rooms, one for her and Xixi, and one for her 3 sons. In each room, there is a bed, a cabinet, a wooden box, a wooden basin, and several baskets. On the left side of the yard, a small thatched shed was built, which was a simple stove made of a mixture of several large stones and yellow clay blocks collected from the river. A pot with an open mouth and a pot lid with a few broken pieces of wood, 6 broken bowls, no more or less, are placed on the stove. Beside the stove is a water tank, and there is a neatly stacked pile of firewood. On the right side of the yard is a small piece of land that should be used for growing vegetables, but now the ground is dry and only a few wilted green onions are planted sparsely. Chen Changsheng lifted the lid of the pot, and the broken pot was scraped clean, leaving no residue. She couldn't believe that the bowl of food that was difficult to swallow and even the dog didn't eat was not only food, but also food for the whole family. This family is really too poor. Chen Changsheng stood in the yard and shouted, "Dafu, go and get some bowls of congee, and give yourself and your brothers and sisters a share of my mother's bowl of congee." Chen Dafu followed his words, and the 4 children shared a bowl of food. Everyone held the bowl and drank it with a particularly delicious taste. After drinking, Chen Sansho licked his lips, while Chen Sishi finally licked the bottom of the bowl. A bowl of wild vegetables was so satisfying to eat. Poor thing, it's a sin. In addition to sighing, Chen Changsheng unconsciously walked outside the courtyard to examine the surrounding environment, and did not know what was happening in her current home. In front of me is a paddy field, and beyond that lies a large mountain. The Chen family is located at the west end of the village, near the mountains, and this area is the land of the villagers. Some families have decent rice growth in their fields, but her family's land is poorly managed and has grown a lot of wild grass. The fields are still somewhat dry and cracked, and the rice and grass are scattered and drooping. This is not a solution, it must be revitalized. Chen Changsheng sighed and couldn't help but raise his hands, silently shouting, "Oh my goodness, since you sent me to this place where birds don't poop, you must give me some cheats. Please give me this chosen son a golden finger." When Chen Changsheng was an apprentice in his previous life, those young boys and girls liked to bury their heads and hold their phones to read novels after class, and occasionally exchanged their thoughts and feelings, which was even more serious than learning how to cook. What about time travel, resurrection, rebirth, systems, spaces, and golden fingers? After hearing so much, Chen Changsheng also has some knowledge. At that time, I even sneered and advised these young boys and girls not to become addicted to illusions, and to seize the time to practice the skill of bumping the pot. But at this moment, she was extremely eager to have a golden finger or something. Bibbo! Detected a desperate cry from the host. A system prompt sound directly reaches Chen Changsheng's Tianlingai. God seems to have regained his hearing this time. Chen Changsheng's eyes lit up. Line trough. There are really golden fingers. Chen Changsheng waved his hands excitedly, like a small boat in the ocean, finally connecting with the organization and saying, "Hello, hello, yes, 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 I am the host, I am here. May I ask if the host has started the smart space?" Start. Must be started. Start immediately now. Chen Changsheng raised his hands high and closed his eyes, ready to welcome the mysterious halo falling on him, not knowing what kind of golden finger he would have. I'm quite excited when I think about it. However, everything is calm as usual. Chen Changsheng shouted urgently again, "Quickly activate the intelligent space." It was not easy to contact the system, but we must not lose contact. This time, the system seemed to hear her call. Bibbo! Once again detected a desperate cry from the host. May I ask if the host has activated the smart space? Start. May I ask if the host has started the smart space? Start. Chen Changsheng roared, stepping on a horse. The main driver is activating the intelligent space. Everything around is still calm as usual. The system is silent again. Chen Changsheng suspects that this system is not teasing. Quickly activate the smart space for the host. Chen Changsheng silently recited, "Go to your big asterisk, greeting system for the whole family" 100 times in his heart. Bibbo! Host insulting system detected. May I ask if the host has started the smart space? Start. 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 Quickly activate the smart space for me. Chen Changsheng swears that if the system is a real person, she must give some color to the system to see when she steps on the horse. May I ask if the host has started the smart space? Chen Changsheng strongly suspected that the broken system was sent by heaven to play with her. She made a final attempt and said, "I'll go to your big asterisk and activate the smart space." May I ask if the host has started the smart space? Yes. Chen Changsheng had bulging veins in his neck and shouted loudly. The air suddenly became quiet, and everything remained calm. Boo 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 boo. The host successfully launched the smart space. Chen Changsheng's face was full of cows, and he breathed a sigh of relief. The shark-like system finally understood human language. In an instant, a virtual electronic wristband appeared on Chen Changsheng's left wrist, and she touched the screen of the wristband. The bracelet is on. Chapter 4. Burning My Calories. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The main screen of the bracelet displays 13.25 and Weisher. Chen Changsheng looked up at the sky, and the sun had just passed slightly west of her head, aligning with the current time. In the upper right corner, there seems to be a battery icon with a small text next to it that reads, 100%. She swiped the screen up and down again to see if there were any other functions. Slide left to display weather, but the temperature and sunny/rainy conditions below are blocked and cannot be viewed. Right scrolling displays a small pattern of humanoid exercise, with the small number 0 next to it. Exercise. Chen Changsheng speculates that this is related to sports. Is it just recording the number of steps taken? Chen Changsheng tried to take a big step forward, but the numbers remained unchanged. I took another step, but the number is still 0. It is independent of the number of steps. What is that related to? Exercise will consume energy, does it mean calorie expenditure? Chen Changsheng raised her legs in place and looked at the wristband again, and the number became 1. She then jumped a few empty ropes in place, and the number became 3. Sure enough, this should be a record of her calorie expenditure. But what does the system do for this feature? I don't know what it's useful for. Then, she slid up the bracelet again, which had several functional icons, such as calculator, flashlight, other, and even software that said, beep and you'll know. Similar to the commonly used software on smartphones in the past. Chen Changsheng was disgusted and said, what do I need a calculator and a flashlight for? I'm going to farm with a flashlight in the dark. After planting, I can use a calculator to calculate how much food I can collect and how much money I can earn. System, you can take dim sum, but give me a space library, an online supermarket, and a spiritual spring. The system reminder sounded again, Bibbo. The world is so beautiful, but the host is so irritable, it's not good. Oh, you're just irritable, your whole family is irritable. Chen Changsheng continued to scroll down and browse, displaying 4 function icons. Sleep, payment, camera, and transfer. She clicked on the camera to see her current appearance, but she didn't know if she was a beauty or a flower. Unfortunately, except for the humanoid exercise icon, everything else is gray and cannot be used. Chen Changsheng roast, what is it? Do you dare to give me a useful garbage system that can be used now? Bibbo. Insults from the host have been detected. If the host continues to speak wildly, the system will enter strike mode. The system is threatening. If the host needs to activate the corresponding icon, they need to increase their own heat consumption through exercise. When the heat consumption accumulates to a certain value, the corresponding function icon can be unlocked. Next, the main interface display screen of the bracelet scrolls through rows of numbers. Calculator 0.500 calories. Other 0.500 kcal. Weather 0.1000 calories. Flashlight 0.2000 calories. Payment 0.2000 kcal. With a beep, you'll know 0.2000 calories. Transmission 0.10000 kcal. Camera 0.20000 kcal. Sleep 0.3000 calories. What kind of divine horse thing? Exercise increases calorie expenditure. Burning her calories. I'm not joking, does she have extra energy to exercise in the current situation where she can't even eat enough? Roast belongs to roast. The system rules must be followed. She has no bargaining position. Just after noon, seeing that it was still early, Chen Changsheng decided to take a few children to the mountains for a walk. The first step in farming novels is to go into the mountains and dig wild vegetables. If you're lucky, you may even catch wild game. Fill your stomach first and burn calories. She ordered the children in the room, Lu, San Shou, Si Shi, you guys take the baskets and follow me to the mountains. Chen Changsheng considered that his eldest son's legs were not agile and it was not convenient to walk, and he also needed someone to watch over the family. Although the poor thieves at home may not come, at least it was still a family. She arranged for Chen Dafu to go to the old house to report his safety first to avoid unnecessary misunderstandings, and then take some time to clean up the hygiene. The courtyard also needs to be tidy, doing some simple and easy tasks such as watering and fertilizing. 3 children were ordered, each carrying a backpack, and 1 big and 3 small children set off towards the mountains in a grand manner. The air in the mountains is clear, and Chen Changsheng really wants to shout, "The king called me to patrol the mountains. I will turn the world around, play my drums, and play my gongs." Life is full of rhythm. A few children are already familiar with this mountain, and I don't know why their mother is so excited today as if she has been beaten with chicken blood, but she is much more depressed than before. Lu, take your mother to take a look at the place where you dug wild vegetables this morning. Chen Erlu and Chen Sanzhou led the way ahead and soon arrived at the old place. The harvest is not very good now, and other people in Qinjia village will also go up the mountain to find food. Some common wild vegetables have already been dug up. The purslane and ferns in front of me have also been dug up, leaving only a few scattered ones. No matter how thin the fly legs are, they are only too young of flesh and cannot be wasted. A few people started picking carefully, not letting go of any corners. In the end, they estimated that they had picked 2 pounds. Wow, I didn't expect to pick a lot too. If you save some food, you can still eat well for 2 days, said Sishi with a smile. Poor child, 2 young of brown rice and some wild vegetables also need to be eaten for several days. Chen Changsheng touched Sishi's hair. Somehow, since Chen Changsheng became a woman, the eyes she looked at her 4 children were filled with maternal love. Although she wanted to suppress this feeling, her awareness of maternal love was too strong. After walking for a while, Chen Changsheng noticed the mud hukai with sharp eyes. This vegetable can be blanched in water to remove bitterness and can be eaten, as well as clearing heat and detoxifying. Chen Changsheng beckoned the 3 little ones to pick, but Erlu was afraid that his mother would lose her head and not even know the vegetables. He quickly stopped him and said, "Mom, that's pork and vegetable. The villagers only use it to feed chickens, ducks, and pigs. No one eats it." Chen Changsheng doesn't think so. The family conditions of the Chen family in front of him are good enough to find food. What else should he choose? She explained to the children, if chickens, ducks, and pigs can be eaten, it means that this dish is not poisonous, and we can also eat it. Our family is already so poor that we have to share a bowl of wild vegetables. If you pick more, you don't have to share it. Especially, remember to pick more, Erlu. Mom will make it for you when you go back. As soon as San Shao heard it, what his mother said seemed very reasonable. It was not easy to find food these days, so he lowered his head and ate it wildly. Chen Changsheng naturally wouldn't miss the excellent opportunity to burn calories, and also bent down to join the army of picking wild vegetables. With 3 children in front, she picked up the fish that missed the net from behind. After burying her head for a long time, Chen Changsheng felt her feet numb from squatting. She stood up with trembling legs, and just as she wanted to stomp and move her muscles, she felt a commotion in her stomach. Not good, I need to use the restroom. Chapter 5. Difficult Toilet Conditions. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The feeling of going to the big size is getting stronger and stronger, and Chen Changsheng is constantly singing big plays in his stomach. He covers his stomach and his face is twisted. Chen Erluan noticed something was wrong with Chen Changsheng and rushed over with a nervous expression, asking, "Mom, what's wrong with you? Is it because my mother is not feeling well? Or is it the aftermath of suicide by hanging someone?" Chen Changsheng struggled to control his sphincter and spat out a few words, "Lu, is your mother feeling unwell? Is there a public restroom near here?" Public restroom? What is that? Chen Erlu grabbed his head and asked in confusion. "It's just the toilet and the thatched cottage. My mother ate it and broke her stomach." Chen Changsheng felt like he was about to explode, his forehead full of sweat. Chen Erlu pointed to the nearby grass and said, "Mom, you forgot. It was all solved in the grass. Even in the grass, it's not impossible." In her previous life, when she was still a man, she encountered the Golden Week of May 11th and encountered 3 urgent situations in traffic on the highway. She often solved them directly on the spot. But now that she is a woman, asking her to urinate anywhere makes her feel inexplicably ashamed in her heart. "My stomach hurts more and more. I feel that a demolition team is working with a shovel and a hoe, driving excavators. Ask Cixi to bring some toilet paper to his mother," Chen Changsheng said painfully before heading straight to the distant grass. "I can't really care about that much anymore." Chen Erlu stood still, constantly muttering in his heart, "Toilet paper. What is that? Is it paper? When was my mother so particular about using paper when going to the bathroom? Only wealthy families can use paper, and poor people like them can solve it by picking 2 leaves and wiping them." Chen Changsheng didn't know this. She sprinted at a speed of 800 meters to a dense grass, and as soon as she squatted down, she felt a torrential force pouring out of her body. The city gate broke open, and she breathed a sigh of relief. "It's close," almost. The construction team inside finally quieted down. After waiting for a long time, Chen Changsheng didn't see her children bringing toilet paper. Suddenly, she realized that there should be no toilet paper in her home. After a short circuit for a moment, Chen Changsheng began to frantically recall how modern people traveled to ancient times to use the restroom in TV dramas, using tiles, stones, and bamboo chips. Hiss, it doesn't sound very friendly. She squatted and looked around, and with a sudden inspiration, she picked a few leaves. Isn't this natural and environmentally friendly toilet paper? She is really a little genius. It's just a bit prickly. Chen Changsheng sighed that the conditions for using the toilet in ancient times were also too difficult, and it was really not easy. Suddenly, she remembered the changes in her body from a man to a woman, as if she was even more miserable and difficult. She couldn't help but cry for herself again. After feeling comfortable, Chen Changsheng remembered that it was not a sad time now. She didn't stay much and quickly returned to the main army. 3 children were not far in front, while Chen Changsheng followed behind and secretly clicked on the virtual wristband. "I don't know how many calories have been consumed now." The wristband screen shows that 288 calories have been consumed. It's less than 300. She felt like she was constantly exercising, walking mountain roads and picking wild vegetables. Why is she still under 300? This bracelet must be inaccurate. Bibbo. The host has no right to question the system, questions the system at will, and deducts the top 10 cards. I'll strangle it. It also comes with a penalty reverse button function. Chen Changsheng wanted to send a Chinese delicacy to the system, but was afraid that the system would deduct more calories, so he tried to resist spitting out the fragrance. She was so angry that she simply closed the virtual bracelet, and out of sight, she spoke less and worked more. Chen Changsheng arched left and right, with full power, squatted and began to vigorously pick. In no time, he caught up with Lu, San Shou, and Cixi who were ahead. Bibbo. Check that the host has consumed 300 calories. Hold on, burn your calories, and keep working hard. Oh, you head. Selling cuteness is shameful. System. One big and 3 small ones picked 10 pounds of mud pickled vegetables, but didn't pick too much, fearing that they would spoil if left for a long time. Chen Changsheng and his team continued to walk deeper into the mountains. There were few villagers coming from the depths of the mountains, so they should be able to gain something. As he walked, Chen Erlu discovered something good and exclaimed with joy, "It's a green leg. What is Qingshanzi?" Chen Changsheng stepped forward to take a look, and there were white and chubby mushrooms in front of him. Mushroom is a good dish that can be used for stewing, braising, or making soup. It has a fragrant and delicious taste, high nutritional value, and has always been a delicacy on the table. When I was a chef at New Oriental, I used to often have students practice this dish. The only thing is that it's not very easy to preserve. Fresh mushrooms are prone to spoilage in a few days, unless they are sun-dried or sold. Chen Changsheng doesn't know what the current prices are, how much money can these vegetables be sold in the town. But it's better to pick more, filling the stomach is a big deal. She asked Erlu and Sansho to pick mushrooms here, while she took Cixi to the surrounding area to see if there were any other discoveries. The 4 soldiers split into 2 routes. Chen Changsheng picked up a thick branch and walked through the grass, carefully searching for it. Suddenly, she caught a glimpse of something blue-green. She leaned down and touched it with her hand, feeling slippery and greasy. It was semi-transparent and turned out to be a vegetable. I flipped through the surroundings again, and the area around me was covered with vegetation. Perhaps it was due to the high humidity in the mountains and new growth in the fields. Daipai Kai usually grows on stone slabs or in grass, covered in mud and weeds, and it is difficult to detect without careful inspection. Chen Changsheng told Cixi the method of picking pickled vegetables, and the mother and daughter squatted down and carefully picked them up. After picking about half a basket of mushrooms from the second and third sons, they also came to meet up. The 4 of them picked them until it was almost dark and harvested 2 baskets full of pickled vegetables. Seeing that the wild vegetables were almost picked, Chen Changsheng called on his children to pack up and prepare to go home. On the downhill road, she slowly swayed at the end of the line, but in fact quietly awakened the virtual bracelet. The main screen shows that a total of 458 calories have been consumed so far. She can't unlock any functions for less than 500 calories, she needs to work harder. Chen Changsheng was about to accelerate his pace to catch up with a few children when he heard Chen Cixi suddenly scream, "Ah!" Chen Changsheng was taken aback and took a few steps to catch up. She thought Cixi had an accident, but the result was a surprise. It turned out that the little girl Chen Cixi was playing with the thick branch that Chen Changsheng had picked up before. As she walked, she was beating the grass on the roadside when suddenly the grass moved. Chen Cixi was timid and screamed in fear, jumping out of nowhere. Chen Erlu and Chen Sansho stepped forward together. The 2 brothers opened the grass and saw a fat snake lying inside. The snake lazily remained motionless. "Grab it quickly," Chen Changsheng exclaimed joyfully. "It is a banyan snake, non-toxic." Chen Changsheng worked as a chef in his previous life, and during his apprenticeship, he had done snake handling, so he was naturally not afraid of snakes. The second and third sons crawl and fight in the fields and mountains every day, and have long been accustomed to snakes, insects, mice, and ants. Only the little girl Cixi is afraid and hides behind Chen Changsheng trembling. The snake was also trembling, and it didn't expect to be noticed while sleeping soundly. Chapter 6. A family should be neat and neat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chen Erlu and Chen Sansho received orders, and they quickly took a few steps forward and started together. Chen Changsheng surrounded in front, while Sansho grabbed a branch and tightly restrained the head of the fat snake. Erlu quickly lifted a stone and smashed it at its 7-inch mark, causing the unlucky snake to die. Chen Erlu was brave enough to lift the dead snake head and vigorously shake it, causing it to curl up into a ball. He weighed it with his hands and estimated it to be 25 pounds. "Little sister, aren't you always saying you want to eat meat?" Isn't meat here? Chen Erlu teased Chen Xixi as he leaned the dead fat snake in front of him. Ah! I don't want to eat snakes, I'll just eat wild vegetables. Chen Xixi's face turned pale with fear from his second brother, and he screamed in shock. He immediately stepped back a foot further. Chen Changsheng asked his second son to put the fat snake in his backpack, not to be naughty and scare his sister anymore. He was planning how to deal with it in his mind. Snakes are good things and have a cool nature. Many pharmacies soak them in snake wine or collect snake bile, but they don't use snakes as medicinal attractants. It can also be sold at the market. This banyan snake is not small in size, whether it is sold at the market or to a city pharmacy, it should be able to sell for a considerable amount of money. Lu, let's sell this big fat snake and exchange it for money to buy more food and meat. Chen Changsheng solicited the opinions of his children. Good, good, I dare not eat snake meat after selling it for money to buy pork, Chen Xixi replied. Chen Erlu and Chen Sanzhou also nodded in agreement, as long as they could exchange more food, filling their stomachs is the big deal these days. Eating meat, they dare not imagine. As the sun sets in the west, the heat of noon has dissipated, and households are taking advantage of this cool time to do more work in the fields. Chen Changsheng had just come out of the mountains and walked onto a rural road. She felt the air was fresh, and although she had worked hard all afternoon, the harvest was better than she had imagined. She believed that days would get better. However, some kind-hearted people in the village disrupted this tranquility. Oh, isn't this the eldest wife of the Chen family? Why do you pick so many pigs and grass? Isn't that feeding chickens, ducks, and pigs? Aunt Wang couldn't help but tease Chen Changsheng when she saw him. The original owner man was lazy and willing to gamble, and also liked to do some sneaky things, which annoyed the villagers and made them not very fond of this mother and son family. Chen Erlu replied to Aunt Wang according to his mother's teachings, my mother said that chickens and ducks can eat vegetables that pigs can eat, and we humans can also eat them. Aunt Wang couldn't help but laugh and said, what about the things that feed chickens, ducks, and pigs? Why do your Chen family also love to eat them? Is your Chen family not even as good as pigs? The other villagers in the paddy field laughed heartily at Aunt Wang's words and mocked the Chen Changsheng family. Chen Changsheng was not angry at all. She spoke softly, it's not something that my Chen family loves to eat, it's something that my family really doesn't have. If Aunt Wang can't bear it, why not lend me some food generously? It's all from our neighbors. Upon hearing that she wanted to borrow grain, Aunt Wang's face changed drastically. The Chen family is the one who borrows but never pays back, and whoever is willing to borrow is like a meat bun beating a dog with no return. She quickly waved her hand and said, my family doesn't have any extra food to borrow. These days are so difficult, who can borrow the food from? Chen Changsheng said, Wang auntie has also said that these days are difficult, and it would be good if we could survive. Unlike Wang auntie's family, which is wealthy and wealthy, we don't like this dish. We probably have a full rice jar at home. The few melon-eating people in the paddy field listened to Chen Changsheng's words and found them very reasonable. Every household in Chen's village had run out of food, so they made fun of each other. Isn't it like 50 steps laughing at 100 steps? Aunt Wang awkwardly closed her mouth. When Chen Changsheng and his mother and son returned home, Chen Dafu had already returned from the old house and cleaned up the inside and outside of the house. I pulled out all the weeds in the small area of the yard again, watered it once, applied a thin layer of fertilizer, and finally went into the small stream at the mountain pass to fetch a few buckets of water back. Everything was well tidied up. Upon seeing his mother and several siblings return, Chen Dafu quickly held a small bag of brown rice and 4 yuan coins in front of Chen Changsheng and reported them in detail, Mother, this is 2 pounds of brown rice from milk for our family. Let's save some food. Although the big house separated from the old house early on, Mrs. Chen occasionally helps to take care of it. If her eldest son doesn't want to, she can't manage it, but she still has 3 biological grandchildren to manage. In the afternoon, Chen Dafu went to the old house. Mrs. Chen heard that the daughter-in-law of the big house was fine, and she pitied the family of 5 orphans and widows for not having an easy time. She secretly took 2 pounds of brown rice and 4 yuan to give to her grandson with her 2 or 3 bedrooms behind her back. She also managed to save some food for a few days and used the silver money for emergency use. No matter how much, Mrs. Chen can't take it out. There is also a big family to manage over there at the old house. After listening to Dafu's words, Chen Changsheng pondered and thought to himself that old lady Chen was not bad enough to compete with his daughter-in-law. Mother, I'll put the rice in the cupboard in your room and have some wild vegetable congee tomorrow morning. Chen Dafu said and went into the room with the small bag of brown rice. They have already had 2 meals today, and this hard-earned grain needs to be stored properly. But Chen Changsheng disagrees, not to mention that she is accustomed to 3 meals a day in modern times, and suddenly only eats 2 meals, which is definitely not suitable for her. Moreover, these 4 children are in a critical period of physical growth, and their nutrition must keep up. How can they not eat? At noon, everyone ate a few mouthfuls of wild vegetables, which were already not enough to fill their stomachs. In the afternoon, they went to the mountains to work hard for half a day, and everyone was already hungry, their chests pressing against their backs. In the afternoon, the mother and son picked a lot of wild vegetables and were able to manage a few meals temporarily. Besides, she also has a virtual electronic bracelet. Although it is not yet known what the specific golden finger is, it is highly likely to be helpful. Not short of this meal. Don't worry, Chen Changsheng took the bag from Dafu's hand and immediately ordered, San Shou, you go pour out half of the rice, wash the purslane and ferns we picked in the afternoon, chop them together, and boil them on the stove. Remember not to have too much water, congee should be thick, and wild vegetables must be chopped. Chen Changsheng specifically reminded her that she no longer wanted to experience the feeling of food stuck in her throat. Erlu, you go get 10 mushrooms and wash them clean. Mom will use them later. Sishi, you go grab 3 handfuls of ground vegetables and wash them clean. The sand and mud must be washed clean. Eating too much sand and mud can easily lead to stones, but it's not just for fun. In the previous life, a graduating student interned at a restaurant and started as a vegetable picker, but unexpectedly became lazy and didn't wash the dishes thoroughly. A customer who frequently frequented the restaurant, after eating several times, ended up with stones and sued the restaurant, losing a lot of money. This student's internship certificate is beyond imagination, and it has also affected the reputation and employment rate of the culinary school. Since then, the school has repeatedly reminded us to wash the vegetables clean, and safety and hygiene are the top priority. Chen Dafu listened to his mother's orders to scoop brown rice and wash mushrooms and vegetables. He opened his mouth and muttered a few words, that's enough. Before going home, the milk told me to save some food. A total of 2 pounds of brown rice, 1 pound will be eaten in one go. Let the milk know, we must be said to be the losers. Chen Changsheng waved his hand and said, then don't let your breasts know. Don't say anything to the 4 of you, just eat. Remember. Remember. Lu, San Shou, and Si Shi answered in unison. Seeing his mother persisting like this, Chen Dafu's heart turned red and he decided to let it go. Let's eat, anyway, it will also be eaten into his own family's belly. After finishing this meal, let's drink the northwest wind together with the whole family. Even if the family is hungry, they must be neat and tidy. Chapter 7. Random Gift Package. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chen Changsheng asked his eldest son to set fire to the stove, and after giving orders, he moved the remaining brown rice, mushrooms, and vegetable into his own room. While several children were busy outside, she quickly lifted her wrist to awaken the virtual electronic wristband. The screen shows that Chen Changsheng has accumulated 662 calories and can unlock the calculator, or other, functions. Which one should I unlock? The name, calculator, sounds like a calculation function, but Chen Changsheng may not be able to use it at the moment. She knows the multiplication table very well, and can also calculate two-digit numbers, but it's just a slower calculation. What is other used for? Will it be helpful to oneself? In fact, what Chen Changsheng most wants to unlock is the payment function. I don't know if the payment function is the shopping app she imagined, but if it is, she really has no worries about food and clothing. Based on today's exercise situation, we consume over 600 calories in half a day. If we increase the amount of exercise, we should be able to make up 2,000 calories in just 2 days. She just managed to gather 500 cards and couldn't wait to try out a feature. After some thought, Chen Changsheng finally decided to unlock other. The system asks, "May I ask if the host has unlocked other functions?" Chen Changsheng, yes, the host mainly unlocks the other function. Fearing that the system might crash again and cause trouble, Chen Changsheng confirmed again, confirm unlocking. Bibbo. The host has unlocked the other function. As soon as he finished speaking, Chen Changsheng saw the other function icon on the virtual electronic bracelet change from gray to color. After consuming heat, there are currently 162 calories left. Finger-click on the other icon, and a line of text appears on the screen. This feature will randomly give host gift packages every week. Please open this week's gift package for the host. A shiny gift bag appeared on the screen again, and Chen Changsheng excitedly opened it. Today's random gift package. A beginner survival ingredient gift package. Please confirm receipt with the host. Food ingredient gift package. It's better to come early than to come coincidentally. There was a shortage of food in front of her. She had just searched around the house, and the oil and salt cans were already empty. Picking those wild vegetables in the afternoon will definitely be difficult to swallow just by boiling them in water. You must add salt, sauce, vinegar, and spicy seeds to make them delicious. Chen Changsheng decisively clicked, confirm receipt, the big gift package opened, and a series of supplies appeared in the open space in front of him. A bag of 20 pounds of vacuumed northeastern rice, 2 barrels of 5-liter edible oil, and a pack of 300 grams of edible salt are all modern deep-sea refined salt, not crude salt or salt. There are also some soy sauce, vinegar, sugar, 2 bottles of oyster sauce, 1 bag of ginger and 1 bag of garlic, 1 bag of millet pepper, and small bags of spices such as star anise, fragrant leaves, and cinnamon. In the end, the system even thoughtfully sent 2 packages of red oil hot pot seasoning and 2 bottles of Lao Gan Ma. Looking at the familiar, national goddess, avatar, Chen Changsheng felt a little excited. The food gift package for the novice's survival period is too awesome. The system finally has a conscience and a pride. Chen Changsheng doesn't need to worry about his survival status for the time being. She wants to sing a song and applaud it. After calming down for a while, Chen Changsheng began to consider how to tidy up these ingredients. She wanted to take them to the stove, but was a bit worried. In ancient times, ordinary people ate salt, and only wealthy merchants and nobles could afford refined salt. My family is so poor, and suddenly she takes out so many ingredients and seasonings, including rice, oil, and essential salt. Will it arouse suspicion from a few children? Especially the eldest and second, the 2 children are not too young to be fooled. If you could put it back in the bracelet and continue saving it, that would be great. As Chen Changsheng was facing difficulties, the system took the initiative to say, does the host want to enable the system's storage and storage function? Upon hearing these words, Chen Changsheng really gave the system a big thumbs up. She was really anxious about what the people were thinking, and when she opened it, she had a mobile space treasure trove that she could easily move around when called upon. Chen Changsheng nodded unconsciously towards the empty air and quickly replied, yes, the host has activated the storage and storage function. The system mercilessly prompts, to activate the storage function, you need to pay 2,000 taels of silver. You old six. Why are you suddenly cashing in now? No more calories. The instructions for use are written as follows. 2,000 taels, why don't you go grab it? 2,000 taels, Chen Changsheng can buy a large courtyard and hire about 10 servants and bodyguards. Chen Changsheng cursed and locked the ingredient gift package in the cabinet of his room, only taking out some that needed to be used. 2,000 taels, how long does she have to earn? Thinking about this, Chen Changsheng's body, which was originally full of strength and enthusiasm, has become a bit weak again. The children have already cleaned up the mushrooms and dried vegetables on their side, and Chen Dafu has also started the fire. As usual, Chen Dafu has been cooking for the Chen family. The younger brothers and sisters are still young and can only fight each other. Mother has never been able to cook, and Chen Dafu has always been responsible for the meals of the family of 5. Chen Dafu rolled up his sleeves and limped up from the stove to prepare for work, but was stopped by an arm in front of him. You can sit in front of the stove and watch the fire. Today, my mother is cooking and help me control the heat. With her, a former new Oriental culinary teacher, there is no one else to turn to. Moreover, her eldest son has a disability on his feet and needs to stand for a long time to stir fry. As a mother, she cannot bear to rub and grind her child. Today, she will stir fry 2 small dishes to show off to the children. She first picked 2 scallions from a 5-part field in the courtyard, washed them neatly, and cut them into small pieces. Then, she quickly patted the garlic, peeled off the garlic skin, and cut it into small foam. She also cut the millet pepper into small pieces. Heat up the oil in the wok, add ginger, garlic, spices, and chili peppers to stir fry until fragrant and spicy. Then add the pickled vegetables and stir fry evenly. Finally, add some salt to season and remove from the wok. With this set of smooth and flowing movements, a bowl of fresh and tender spicy stir-fried vegetable appeared on the stove. Chen Dafu unconsciously swallowed his saliva, and the dish looked really good. Mom, when did you know how to stir-fry like this? It's still stir-fried so fragrant and beautiful, with a tempting color. Chen Changsheng looked at Dafu's stunned expression and smiled, saying, "What's wrong with you, child? Tell Lu and San Shou to come and bring the vegetables to the house, and serve 5 bowls of rice. I'll stir-fry another dish." Chen Dafu quickly called for his 2 younger brothers to come and help. Chen Erlu and Chen Sanzhou looked at the fragrant ground vegetables and kept sniffing, wishing to absorb the fragrance of the vegetables in one gulp. Oh my God, my mother's craftsmanship is also amazing. Chen Changsheng looked at several greedy cat kids, shook his head, and then skillfully cut the mushrooms into thin slices, stir-frying a fresh, tender, and delicious garlic-flavored stir-fried mushroom. The Chen family hall has not had such a rich meal for a long time. There are 2 bowls of dishes on the table. 5 broken bowls are filled with full brown rice and wild vegetable congee. 4 children are staring at the food and hissing. Without time to sigh, a woman's sharp curses came from outside the main room. "You loser. I arranged for you to marry, but you didn't get married. When I asked you to give me money, you said you didn't have any money. I didn't expect to sneak around and eat good food with my mother and a few brats behind my back." Chapter 8. Oscar Best Actress. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the yard, a fierce old woman in her 50s, with her left hand on her waist and her right hand pointing at Chen Changsheng, cursed fiercely. The old lady has a short stature, but looking full of confidence, she doesn't look like an old lady in her 50s at all. Before Chen Changsheng could figure out the identity of the person in front of him, he heard the 4 children stand up together. Chen Xixi whispered, "Grandma. So this is the old lady Kai, the mother of the original owner, who forced the original owner to remarry and caused the original owner to commit suicide by hanging a beam." Kai walked into the main hall uninvited and began to perform a pitiful scene. "Don't call me grandma, I don't have an unfilial grandson like you. You guys are enjoying good food and drink at home, leaving my old lady to eat bran. I want outsiders to come and see my filial, good grandsons. Chen Changsheng watched Kai's brilliant acting and couldn't help but want to loudly applaud and cheer for her, and then award her the Academy Award for Best Actress. Chen Dafu took a small step and said with shame, "Grandma, the bottom of my bowl of congee hasn't moved yet. Why don't you eat my food? I'm not hungry anyway." She was about to turn around and hand her bowl to Kai Shi on the table. Chen Changsheng was about to stop his eldest son when he heard Chen San's Ho tug at Dafu's hem and mutter softly, "Big brother, have you forgotten? Grandma wanted to remarry my mother and almost killed her. You little brat, you don't even recognize your own grandmother." Kai Shi scolded San Shou fiercely. After hearing this, Chen San's Ho also spoke up and said quickly, "You're not our grandmother. Not only do you want my mother to remarry, but you almost killed my mother. You're not my grandmother. 3 years old, that's great. This is Chen Changsheng's good son, who will seek revenge instead of blindly being foolish and filial." Upon hearing this, Kai Shi twisted her face and turned to curse at Chen Changsheng, "You shameless loser, look at your good son. This little joke doesn't even recognize his grandmother and dares to scold me. Look at me if I don't beat you to death today." Kai took a few steps with her small foot and rushed forward. She raised her hand and wanted to throw it towards Chen Sancho's face, but was firmly grabbed by a hand that suddenly extended in front of her, unable to move. "My son doesn't have someone else's turn to teach him a lesson yet," Chen Changsheng said with a resentful expression on his face. Kai Shi saw her daughter, who had always been cowardly and obedient, not only talk back today, but also stop her. She went crazy and said, "You loser, dare to stop me, and even teach my grandson bad. See if I don't kill you." Kai's feet were jumping, ready to switch and fan towards Chen Changsheng. But Chen Changsheng is one head taller than Kai Shi, young and strong, and she has already changed her heart. How could she stay in place and be beaten? She tightened her grip on Kai's wrist with a strong force and looked down at him teasingly, "Who are the losers scolding?" Kai was furious and said, "Loser scolds you. Oh, so you're the loser." "Hee," Chen Changsheng boasted. She didn't want to be polite to Kai anymore, so she fiercely shook off Kai's hand and threw the tough old lady to the ground. Kai Shi fell to the ground and saw that she couldn't fight, so she could only wave her hands and cry uncontrollably. "Oh my God, there's also a daughter who beats her own mother. This is completely lawless," she said. The tough old lady saw that she couldn't handle it hard, so she started pretending to be a weak little white rabbit, pretending to be pitiful with a bitter face, eagerly looking at Chen Dafu, who was still facing her. "Grandmother, come and help me. Your mother is going to kill me." Chen Dafu was blindfolded by the weak little white rabbit on the ground and wanted to help Kai Shi, but was stopped by Chen Changsheng. "Dafu, your grandmother asked me to remarry. As your grandmother wished, that mother will marry into the Li family village. From now on, there will be only 4 siblings left in this family. You are the eldest brother and take care of several younger brothers and sisters on your own." Chen Changsheng knows that Dafu is an honest and filial child, but he is also too foolish and filial. He must beat him to let him know that not all relatives are relatives. Some relatives can drink human blood. Kai, this tough old lady, can deceive her eldest son, but she cannot deceive Chen Changsheng. In her opinion, Kai Shi is not a weak little white rabbit, but an extinct nun. And it's a deadly extermination, abyss. As soon as he finished speaking, Chen Sanlu immediately hugged Chen Changsheng's waist and was about to cry, "I won't let my mother leave, don't let her remarry." Chen Cixi also burst out crying loudly, "Mom, you can't let us go." The third and fourth were worried that Chen Changsheng would really go back to his mother's house. Both of them suspected that the meal that his mother had personally cooked today would not be the last good meal before leaving, right? Chen Erlu was also afraid that his mother would go back, pointing at Kai Shi and shouting at Chen Dafu, "Big brother, she's not our grandmother. She wants her mother to remarry and even wants to force her to death. I will never recognize such a grandmother." Chen Dafu suddenly realized and stood with his 3 siblings and mother, "Mother, I was wrong. Upon hearing this, Kai Shi didn't even stand on her side as her only great-grandson, and was too lazy to act anymore. She got up from the ground in frustration, disregarding the few people in front of her, and walked straight to the table, ready to sit down and eat. Chen Changsheng rudely reached out and tugged, cursing, "Where did that shameless beggar come from? Run to someone else's place to eat, kids, kick her out for me." Four children joined the battle together, 2 on each side, carrying the Kai family and pushing towards the outside. Tsai was pushed out of the room, feeling extremely angry. She tilted her head and let out a "ah-poo" sound, spitting thick phlegm onto the ground. The fierce old lady waved her hands and roared with a fierce expression, "The kindness of my parents in raising me is greater than heaven. You white-eyed wolves who have killed thousands of dollars dare to treat my old lady like this. Damn it, you old lady almost vomited on me." Chen Changsheng didn't want to be polite to Kai Shi and spat back. "The kindness of my parents' upbringing is beyond heaven, but since you forced me to remarry today and forced me to death, I will no longer owe you kindness." Kai became angry with embarrassment and cursed Chen Changsheng with a red face, You're going to anger me to death, you unfilial daughter, you loser. You never want to go back to Zhao's village again. You orphans and widows should wait together to die." Chen Changsheng just received a large gift package of ingredients and had a golden finger, so he didn't trust this statement. "Don't worry, since I have married into the Chen family, I was born into the Chen family and died as a ghost of the Chen family. I have no intention of returning to Zhao family village. In the future, how can we orphans and widows have nothing to do with your old lady? If you dare to come to my house again, be careful that I will let you in vertically and out horizontally." After speaking, he pretended to go to the stove to grab a kitchen knife and fight desperately with Kai Shi. You loser dare to use a knife." Kai Shi saw her daughter so fearless that she couldn't even speak fluently. "Anyway, I've died once before, and I'm not afraid of dying again," Chen Changsheng said as she stared at Kai with a fierce and eerie expression. The fierce old lady Kai was frightened by this penetrating expression and her heart skipped a beat. She ran away with a loud cry. Chapter 9 is about this light. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chen Changsheng had never felt so happy before and couldn't help but burst out laughing. The 4 children had never seen their mother in such a state before, and they were all stunned and lost in thought. "In the past, my mother always said whatever my grandmother said. My grandmother said that my mother would never go west, until today when my grandmother came to force her to remarry. The children thought they would soon lose their mother and become unwanted children. But I didn't expect my mother to resist until she died, let alone dare to confront my grandmother tonight. The children feel that their mother has changed. They used to like the mother, but now they prefer the mother." Chen Changsheng withdrew his emotions and cleared his throat. "The bad guy has been driven away, why are you still standing there foolishly? Sit down and have a meal, and try your mother's skills." Looking at the table of rice and 2 bowls of vegetables in front of them, the children forgot about their unpleasant moments earlier, and the craving worms in their stomachs were hooked up again. Too luxurious. What a waste. Chen Dafu was secretly worried that everyone had a bowl of brown rice porridge. With such a carefree way of eating, the bag of brown rice given by Milk could be cleaned up in a day. If Milk knew about it, it would not break their legs. It's so fragrant. Chen Erlu thought to himself, when will my mother be so good at cooking, with all the colors, flavors, and flavors? He doesn't know. It looks delicious. Chen Sansho was dribbling and fidgeting with his fingers, looking as if he couldn't wait. How happy. Chen Sishi never thought that the spring festival would not be over, and his family could still eat a large bowl of brown rice porridge and 2 dishes. The conditions of the dog-egg brother in Li Zheng's family are good. Last year, he only had congee under the condition of poor harvest, which was unimaginable. Chen Changsheng was amused by the greediness of several children and burst into laughter. She picked up her bowl and said, "Let's start." The four children instantly picked up their bowls and chopsticks, burying their heads in the bowls and working hard to cook. Oh my goodness, this vegetable can be stir-fried so delicious, with a layer of oil star seeds on it. The mushrooms are also fragrant. Mom, what's this red one? Why is it so hot in your mouth after eating? Chen Changsheng hissed his teeth and sucked in his breath, picking up a small piece of rice pepper and asking Chen Changsheng. It's chili. Have you never tried it before? Chen Changsheng asked in confusion. The four children all shook their heads, indicating that they had never heard of it, but the taste was really good and it was also very appetizing. Perhaps the mother went to the mountains to pick some vegetables this afternoon. Listening to the child's answer, Chen Changsheng probably knew in his heart that there should have been no chili peppers in this dynasty. This may be a business opportunity. A few people buried their heads in eating, and Chen Changsheng suddenly spoke up, Mom, you just said that life is the Chen family, and death is the Chen family ghost. So you probably won't remarry in the future, you will always be with us, right? Mother is not joking. She won't remarry. In the future, our family of 5 will be together. Chen Changsheng is psychologically like a man, who finally and luckily crosses over to a widow. Without facing a man, she will not ask for trouble to remarry. As the saying goes, marriage and infertility ensure safety. In modern society, women suffer losses compared to men in various aspects such as family and work. Not to mention in ancient times, women's status was even lower, and they had no say in marriage and death. Upon hearing Chen Changsheng's statement that he would not remarry, the children finally felt relieved. Mother is really kind. San Shou will definitely show filial piety to you and take care of your old age and send you to the end. Chen San Shou said while eating rice. I will do it too. I can do it too. I will also take care of my mother's old age and see her off. Chen Dafu, Chen Erlu, and Chen Xixi all agreed. Ah ba, she's still young. What do you say to take care of her old age and end her life? I don't know if it's a good word or a curse on her. Chen Changsheng couldn't help but cry and laugh. She paused and wanted to teach the children today's lesson. I am very pleased that you children can adhere to filial piety as the foundation. However, I also want to tell you today that filial piety is not blindly foolish or blindly filial to all elders. To our good elders, there is no need for others to say, we naturally need to show filial piety. But some elders bully us and even want to drink our blood and eat our meat. These elders don't need us to be filial. The 4 children nodded silently, especially Chen Dafu, who remembered the word, filial piety, in his heart. Chen Changsheng felt relieved and said, let's eat quickly. Xixi poured the last sip of rice into the vegetable bowl and scraped the last bit of vegetable residue and oil clean. Full. I'm too satisfied. 3 sons and 1 daughter let out a happy burp. After dinner, San Shou and Xixi obediently squatted on the ground to wash dishes, with clear division of labor and perfect cooperation. Chen Changsheng notified us to go to the market in Baishui County tomorrow morning and sell the wild vegetables and the big banyan snake while they are fresh. Upon hearing that they were going to the city, the 4 children were all very excited. They grew up in Qinjia village and have not been to the city yet. Among the few people, Chen Dafu has been to the city before. When he was a child, he brought his grandson to the city to go to the market, but he was still too young at that time and had little impression of the city. Chen Erlu and Chen Sanzhou wanted their mother to take them to the city, but Xixi also begged with coquettishness. Chen Changsheng also wants to take the children with him, but considering that we don't need so many people to go out together now, and we also need someone to take care of the house. It was already dark. Chen Dafu set fire, Chen Erlu carried water, and the 2 brothers burned facial wash for the whole family. Chen Changsheng touched the room again and summoned a virtual wristband to check the heat consumption. Just now, after a fierce battle of wits, the old lady has accumulated 243 calories. There is still a long way to go before unlocking the payment function. How to increase consumption. Chen Changsheng suddenly remembered. You can do aerobics. In the previous life, many female students in the school liked to do Lu * Hong, Zhou Jia, and what kind of Pamela or Pamela exercise and weight loss exercises at night. According to student feedback, it is very effective, consuming 300 to 400 calories in just 1 hour. Chen Changsheng was invited to skip once or twice because she was close to the students, and she vaguely remembered a few movements. That's it, just do it, jump as you please. Let's start with the famous compendium of Materia Medica, which has simple movements and catchy slogans. Chen Changsheng was afraid that dancing this exercise outside would be too eye-catching, so he decided to practice inside first. A few children burst in, and she pretended to be tired and wanted to lie inside for a while, instructing Chen Cixi not to disturb herself in the room for now. Chen Cixi believed that her mother had not fully recovered from her death and resurrection today, and even thoughtfully closed the door. Chen Changsheng rolled up her pants and sleeves, and warmed up her body for a while. I looked at the wristband and it's now 19.20. Let's try practicing it for an hour first. It's this light singing together, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The fat on my waist is clicking off, I want the mermaid line in vest line. 4, 2, 3, 4, one more time. Hee, burn my calories, Chen Changsheng cheered himself on. After a round of exercise, there was already a layer of fine sweat on her forehead. She glanced at the wristband again, at 20.20, for a whole hour. After finishing his exercise, Chen Changsheng glanced at his calorie expenditure again, which turned into 618 calories. Based on this activity volume, perhaps she can save up 2,000 cards tomorrow night and activate the payment function. Chapter 10. Finally entering the city. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The weather is gradually entering the 5th month of the lunar calendar, getting hotter and cooler in the morning and evening. However, Chen Changsheng went into the mountains at noon today and did aerobics at night, sweating profusely and feeling sticky and uncomfortable all over. She wants to take a shower, but conditions do not allow it. There is no well at home, so it all depends on the boss and the second person to manually fetch water from the mountain pass every day. It takes about 10 to 20 minutes to go back and forth, which is too time-consuming. There is no bathroom, not even a bathtub. Now she has become a woman, and she can no longer casually bare her arms, let alone take a shower in the yard. Farmers usually wipe their faces and wash their feet, take a shower every half a month, but as a modern person, Chen Changsheng has just arrived in ancient times and is not used to it. Chen Changsheng suddenly missed the days before, when the faucet was turned on and there was a splashing stream of tap water flowing out. As soon as the switch is turned on, the shower nozzle sprays water, then some shampoo is applied and soap is added. With a hum of the song, a generation of song kings is born. It seems that tomorrow when we go to the county town, we still need to ask about the price of the bathtub and buy a piece of fragrant pancake or soapberry. She made do with wiping her face and feet, washing away the fatigue of the day, and finally being able to lie in bed and rest. Without an oil lamp, everything was pitch black. Looking at the bright stars outside the window, Chen Changsheng planned to make money quickly. With money, you must build a big house, have your own room, and have a private bathroom. Chen Cixi obediently lay beside Chen Changsheng after washing up. Seeing Cixi, she thought of preparing a room for each of her 4 children. Cixi is a girl, so she naturally needs to be more delicate. The room also needs to have a private bathroom, so the eldest, second, and third can use the public restroom. But in the future, as their sons grow older, they will all get married and start a family. After marrying a wife, will they also have to be alone? Thinking of this, Chen Changsheng began to have a headache. The night was deep, and everything fell peacefully into a dreamland. Bibbo. 0 o'clock, the host's exercise has ended today, and the accumulated calorie consumption on the book is 620 calories. Keep working hard. Chen Changsheng slept in a daze and seemed to hear the number 650 calories. After the broadcast is completed, the wristband screen will automatically turn off and display the 3 words, shutting down. The next morning, Chen Changsheng was awakened by the noise outside. The villagers have no habit of sleeping in, and the 4 children in the neighborhood wake up early, leaving Chen Changsheng alone in bed. My mother always wakes up late, and even a few filial children don't care. Chen Dafu cooks in front of the stove and cooks a pot of brown rice and wild vegetable congee. Chen Xixi is playing games with Aunt Ma's daughter Dongmei in the courtyard next door. Ma Auntie's family's food was cooked, and she called for Dongmei to have breakfast. When she saw Xixi, the girl, in her own courtyard, she casually gave Xixi a nest and asked her to take it back to fill the stomachs of her siblings. Aunt Ma is a kind-hearted woman who knows that the father of the 4 dolls is a spendthrift and the family has always been difficult, so she occasionally helps to support her. Xixi took the wawatu and sweetly said thank you. She also went back to her own courtyard to wake up her mother for dinner. Chen Changsheng felt that her waist was almost broken. The Chen family's bedboard is too hard, so they laid a layer of grass mat as a cushion. Her family is poor, with 2 thin quilts in total, 1 for each room. The thin quilts are also used to build, and she is not willing to put them on the bedboard. Buying a Simmons mattress also needs to be on the agenda. After waking up, Chen Changsheng slowly practiced a set of Tai Chi exercises in the courtyard to exercise his muscles and bones. This is her habit. Thinking that after completing this set of punches, I estimate that I can also burn 70.80 calories. Chen Changsheng excitedly opened a virtual bracelet to see new data. Result: Nima, how deceitful. I saw the virtual wristband on the black screen, and Chen Changsheng felt something was wrong. Did the dog system lose connection again? But the bracelet is still there. Where is the problem? Chen Changsheng's mind moved and she called the system. Why can't the host use the system? System, the wristband has been turned off, and the host can use it normally after manually turning it on. Chen Changsheng took a closer look and it was indeed in the shutdown state. She long pressed the virtual button and the wristband turned on again. She clearly remembered not turning off the bracelet before going to bed last night, but Chen Changsheng planned to keep it open and keep track of consumption. The system replied, in response to the green and energy.saving slogan, the wristband will automatically shut down after midnight every day, and the host needs to manually turn it on the next day. Chen Changsheng vomited blood. System, you are a real dog. Give me a horse ride to play with Ian. Chen Changsheng looked at the main screen with hatred, and the heat consumption data remained unchanged, still at 650 calories. Come on, I just wasted my Tai Chi, let's take it as a lesson. After a brief scrubbing, Chen Changsheng started making a bowl of refreshing and spicy pickled vegetables, and Chen Dafu began to nag, Mom is too extravagant. You have to stir-fry some vegetables to go with breakfast, you're really a loser. Chen Changsheng gave Dafu a helpless glance, he is such a worried big guy. I can't blame Chen Dafu for his nagging. Who made the man from the original owner a scoundrel? The original owner is not a sharp character either. In the past, the Chen family used to have a meal before the next one, and they were the poorest in the village. It is said that the elder brother is like a father. If it weren't for Dafu living a tight life, I'm afraid all 3 younger brothers and sisters wouldn't be able to live until today. After stir-frying the vegetable, Chen Changsheng filled half a bowl of it and gave it to Chen Dafu. After dividing it into 5 parts, each person had a bowl of brown rice and wild vegetable congee and a small portion of wawatu, and the vegetable was a simple breakfast. After finishing his 1st and 4th year snacks, Chen Changsheng instructed his eldest son to carry the mudhu vegetables, mushrooms, and ground vegetables he picked yesterday, as well as the 25-pound fat snake he caught. She herself put the remaining half-bowl of spicy pickled vegetables from the pot into the bowl, put it in the basket, and finally brought the 4-1 money that Mrs. Chen gave yesterday. The mother and son were ready to leave for the city. The remaining few children were not idle at home. Chen Erlu carried a hoe and went down to the field. His 4 acres of land had not been taken care of for a long time, and the grass had grown crazy. He had to quickly weed and try to harvest more rice. Chen Sanzho and his sister Sishi consciously went to the mountains to pick mushrooms and ground vegetables. The 2 siblings felt that yesterday's mother cooked 2 delicious dishes, so they picked more dishes. Whether they were sold or kept, they were both excellent. Qinjia village is under the jurisdiction of Baishui County, and there is only 1 round trip of ox carts to and from the county every day. Chen Dainiu, who drives the cart, will wait at the east entrance of the village early in the morning. People who want to enter the city usually greet Chen Dainiu the first day and reserve a seat. Last year, the harvest was not good, and every household in the village did not have much money left. The only few money had to be kept to buy food or for emergency use when sick, so there were not many people taking ox carts. The boarding point will pass by the Chen family's old house. Chen Changsheng and Chen Dafu have a tight schedule, so they don't plan to go in for a chat. The main reason is that there are still many people who Chen Changsheng doesn't know, afraid of revealing their secrets. The 1-way fare for the ox cart was 1 penny, and Chen Changsheng suggested taking the ox cart to the city earlier to make it faster. Chen Dafu adhered to the principle of diligence, frugality, and thrift, shaking his head repeatedly and saying that he could walk on his legs and let her take the car. Chen Changsheng pondered for a moment and gave a penny to Chen Dainiu, who was driving the car. He then pulled his eldest son onto the car and sat there, while he stood on his legs. It's not that she's reluctant to give up 2 cents, it's mainly because Chen Dafu has inconvenient legs and feet, which can slow down her progress when walking. She can't do such a thing of honing her son, so if she walks on her own, it happens to be on the card-swiping road. With the addition of Chen Dainiu, who was driving, there were only 6 people in the car. The cart swayed and set off towards the county town. Finally, it's time to enter the city.